Morning, good afternoon, or good evening, depending on when you see it. My name is Franklin Herring. I'll go over a little bit about the disaster recovery as part of Appian's. Quick overview: disaster recovery refers to the policies, procedures, processes that are put in place for Appian, to keep on running in case of a major incident. Just trying to extend the lifespan of this app, the Appian applications that you have put in place so that not even an actual natural disaster or catastrophe can affect it, or you'll have, a quick, you know, turnover between, your primary servers and your alternate servers. But I'll go a little more into detail about that. So Appian, as a general practice, it recommends a cold failover configuration where um, both both sets of server stacks are in geographically different locations, so that they're both not affected by this potential major incident, being like a natural disaster or anything like that. So disaster recovery plan, like I said, it's the policies, procedures, and processes that are put in place, and they're based on recovery point objective and recovery time objective. These are two kind of deciding factors and requirements, constraints that the disaster recovery plan has to accommodate for. And so the plan overall is tested periodically through simulations. You conduct different tests with metadata or data that you already had backed up on your servers to try to see where how efficient this disaster recovery plan is. So in best practice, it's best practices conduct simulated disaster recovery after configuring the actual primary production servers, just to make sure that if there's a failover, if there's a fail, like the production server fails, it's a quick turnaround to actually get that application up and running. And then after you get that first test done, you should do it at least once a year, just to make sure that your disaster recovery plan is good. Both server stacks, the primary and the failover stack, are operational and can withstand the load of data and processes that you're pumping through it in your applications. So recovery point objective is the maximum tolerable period in which data might be lost, in the situation of a major incident happening. So an example would be, your RPO is 24 hours. You should back up your data at least nightly. And if it's 24 hours, you're going to back it up nightly so that you have, all of that data that you're currently using throughout the day backed up, archived on both the primary and the alternate servers so that you can actually access it correctly. Recovery time objective is the duration of time in which the system must be restored. Time system can start, they're determined by the time since the actual last backup, the checkpoint. So if you have a lot of transactions in your transaction log, the engine will actually take longer to start back up after that major incident. So reduce startup time by checkpointing and backing up those databases frequently. The difference between disaster recovery and high availability are slim, but it's something to note for sure. So high availability is focused on high redundancy. So with duplicate engine servers, in a specific area, so that it could, spread out the load of the actual data, the processes and stuff that your application is using, rather than disaster recovery are the steps in place in case of a catastrophe where the systems become unavailable and you're trying to get it back up and running. So disaster recovery requirements, networks must, route users to the recovery of environments, when that, major incident occurs. Configurations must be kept in sync between both environments so that there is no, latency between, the primary server and the alternate server in case of that that natural disaster, major incident. And data must be regularly replicated. So backed up data must include a recent KDB file for each engine, relational database, file system data to both the server, and it needs to be backed up on the server and the actual fail server, so that the latency, the time it takes from getting to a primary server swapped over to that fail over server is very slim. With that concludes my presentation. Thank you. Have a good day.